welcome to the very first episode of Rewinding. My name is Adi, and today I'm joined by Robert Chen. Rob is a New York-based entrepreneur that recently quit his lucrative job to follow his passion of building MMDDYYYY. That's a platform that allows people to invite friends and friends to events and share photos all in one place. So, Robert, how are you doing?
Thank you, Adi, for that very generous introduction. Perfect. So I was saying it's been 10 or 11 days since I quit my job, and I'm
Woo!
working on this my startup full time, and it almost feels as if I'm like on an extended vacation. And there's like somewhere in the back of my mind, I haven't accepted like I'm not going back to work. But the thing is, like, even while I was at the 9 to 5, I
Uh-huh.
would work through vacations. Like when I get like a long holiday, like the end of the year, Thanksgiving and Christmas, I would look
Uh-huh.
forward to just working on my app for 7 days straight because that's the only time I get like a long period of concentrated work. And yeah, so I've kind of conditioned myself to think like this. I've been doing it for the last 10 years, just like different apps, and there's only one that really took off.
Interesting. I didn't know. Which apps did you have before?
Maybe less than two.
A
Yeah,
lot.
7 years is accurate. The first app I started at a company. It was in crowdfunding and influencer marketing, but this was early. It was 2017. It was a good idea. It was a good concept. I was just too young. I didn't have any experience. I didn't know what I was doing, and I
Okay.
blew it. That was essentially it. I just wasted all my money.
Oh,
Figure things
how
out.
what happened?
Uh, well, because it's influencer marketing, I figured LA is the place to be. So
It
then I
was.
flew to LA, and I didn't know how to code at the time, so I was using WordPress, and my site was a piece of it was bad.
Okay.
Like it took 12 seconds to load the homepage. Yeah, it was really bad.
Okay. What
Um,
year was that?
it was not like acceptable even in 2017.
Wow, 2017 is 7 years ago. That's crazy.
Ah, yeah. So that was my first. And then it was because that didn't work out that I figured I have to learn how to code to do this again, but smarter and more efficiently. Because developers are just by being able to develop it myself, I'm saving like 80% of startup costs.
That's actually so accurate. I just thought about how the most expensive thing you pay for as an early stage startup is developers. Always. So
Yeah.
it's super interesting. Were you in the military at the time?
I was National Guard at the time. Actually, this was a crazy story in itself. We could
Okay.
get into it because it kind of sparked a lot of what transcended. So it was 2012. I was 19, and I signed up for the Army Reserve because I needed discipline at the time. So I thought boot camp is a great way to do it. So I only wanted boot camp, but after I finished boot
Okay.
camp, I came back to my New York City home base drill unit,
Hmm.
and they said, "Oh, good, you're already packed. This is perfect. You're going straight to Afghanistan."
What? That's how
Yeah,
it works?
apparently, yeah. And they said our unit hasn't been deployed in over 20 years, so you're really lucky. And in my head, I
Okay.
was like, I want to go to college. What are you talking about? So that was
Okay.
where like the spark began. I was in Afghanistan. We were getting bombed, and I was hating life, and I just thought I need to do better. I did the math. I was working for practically $3 to $4 per hour, considering we're there all night. So I counted,
I've
including sleep. So I just wanted to do better. I wanted to go to college. I wanted to learn some skill that could make significant wealth. I didn't learn it in college. I learned it after college, but it was that thought process that kind of carried me the last 10 years.
so interesting. That doesn't necessarily take my mind to entrepreneurship.
Right. It was a segue. So when I went back to college, I wanted to learn product management because I knew tech is where it's at, given
Hmm.
our era.
Cool.
And
What year is that?
that was 2014 when I came back home.
Hmm.
And then
Okay.
it was one of my classmates that put the seed of entrepreneurship in my head. Because a lot of the projects that we were doing was like geared towards creative thinking and uh, taking initiative. And he was very entrepreneurial. He had his own wood craftsmanship business that he was just doing for fun, and it was profitable. And so that combined with tech management classes, it started. I started to develop like ideas of my own, and that's how I came up with the influencer marketing crowdfunding platform. I remembered my drive home. Okay, so I went to what was it? The Hamptons? Yeah, it was the Hamptons. There was a speaker somewhere in the Hamptons, and my college is in Stony Brook, so it was both Long Island, but the Hamptons is like an hour deeper into Long Island. All in
Uh-huh.
all, it's 3 hours from Hamptons back to where I lived in Queens. And I remember the drive home. I was thinking about this new concept, the startup that I would eventually try to build, and I was getting like giggly, like I was just sitting in my car by myself, and I was like really excited. Yeah, I don't think
That's
I've
so
ever been.
cool.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been that excited again about an idea, even with what I'm working on right now. Like I kind of intentionally suppress my excitement just so
Huh.
I'm thinking straight.
Like in the start, you super everything is exciting, and then you learn to tone yourself down, sort of.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I kind of see it as dating. Like if you remember your early like high school, middle school relationships, you're overexcited. You're like you got all these plans for it. You think it's only gonna go well, but you know as we grow up, we learn it doesn't always go the way we think it would. So then we kind of like start reasoning for ourselves, like, oh, maybe it could work out, maybe it won't. Just be prepared for the worst. So that's kind of like I apply that same ideology towards startup ideas now, because then you never know.
True. So, the first app you built.
Yeah, yeah, that was 7 years ago. The first app out of coding boot camp was different. Oh, actually, what I'm building right now is
Mhm.
very similar to my capstone project at boot camp. So it's kind of like the final project before you graduate.
Okay.
Camp. That was called playtime.com, and the concept was you hang out with friends through the app. So it's like an events based. It's kind of similar, like with attendance, what I have right now and everything. The only difference
Uh-huh.
was I tried to make it like I try to gamify it. So then you get rewards, as in points. Like you level up in the app the more you hang out with your friends. Didn't really
Okay.
go like it didn't really get anywhere, but it's interesting that I kind of circled around back to
You
I thought
cycled
about it.
back.
Yeah, yeah. And that was 5 years ago.
Oh, have you had interesting apps along the way?
Many. They were all
That
interesting.
was a very short yes.
Yeah,
That was
they were all interesting, but none of them made like they were not profitable ideas. They were just interesting ideas.
okay. Tell me about them.
My first real app with actual users after boot camp was I made a game. It was during COVID, so I was like an artist. It was like I internalized what was happening outside in the world and put it into this game. It was called zombiersattack.com, and
Okay.
the way it worked was if you ever played Mafia, it's kind of like that. Like it's a social deception game where it's like you pretend to
Oh
be a
yeah.
good guy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the way this one works, which is it was kind of fun. It was very chaotic, but it was fun. Like I had different people play, and we all had a good time. It was so like if we all start as bears, except
Okay.
two people are zombies, and but
Okay.
we don't know who. As the game progresses, the zombies could infect the bears, and then we
Mm-hmm.
don't know who got infected or whether the person who used to be a bear is still a bear. We don't know until eventually someone eliminates all the zombies plus the new ones, or we think there's no more zombies and we all agree to go back to the village. But if we bring a
Okay.
zombie back to the village, then everyone's screwed and we all. What ends up happening usually is no one trusts anyone and we all die. Yeah, but it was so chaotic. It was hilarious.
That's hilarious. How did you come up with that?
It's just COVID. It's just like that was literally how people interacted with each other outside. No one trusted anyone, and it was chaotic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, also another interesting thing that happened right around that time was Among Us came out, and Among Us like just blew up. It was huge, and I played Among Us, and then I thought this game is much better than what I'm building. So I guess I'm done.
Goodbye, what I'm building.
Yeah,
It sounds like you weren't really looking at it from a business point at all. It was really like fun.
yeah. I always thought if the fun comes, then the money will follow. Like if I'm having a good time and my users are having a good time, the money will just happen. I think that's my current thought process too. I strongly believe in that. Even if it's in the entertainment realm, not all my apps were fun apps. I built a financial app one time. I wanted to learn about stocks, so it was very dry and it was very boring. And I figured if I try to build an app, then it'll make me want to learn. And it did. It panned out. I even made a little bit of profit from the software itself. It was what? How did it work? Oh, it was kind of illegal, but not so bad that I can't say it. So
Okay.
I was scraping data from trading recommendation websites, and I would like combine like three different sites recommendations into like a proprietary a formula that I have,
Uh-huh.
and then I had a back end that would go and purchase and sell these stocks based on those recommendations. And
Okay.
I was I remember at the peak it was up $12,000, and I was like I'm gonna be rich because then it's like if I could 3x in 1 week and then like times 52 weeks I'd be like a millionaire by the end of the year. But then it went down to 8,000 in one night, and I got scared. I freaked out, and I was like, no, I'm selling. So I profited 8,000, and then I shut it.
Got it.
Like the SEC
Interesting.
will not come after me for doing that. They're not gonna. They don't care.
Yo,
Yeah.
Robert, you made $8,000. Like, I'm sorry. That's hilarious. Um, okay. I have another question exactly about like the apps. It sounds like you were building,
Mm.
was it always apps?
I Did I ever try to do anything that's not an app? Okay, this is more like a joke. Pokemon Go. When it was very popular and everyone was out, I remember
Uh-huh.
there was one Sunday. It was super hot, but people were out at like because there's a map and you can see like the clusters of where the like if there are rare Pokemon. And so
Okay.
I drove my car to the spot with the intention of selling AC in my car
That
because
is
it was really hot.
genius.
Yeah, I figured
That is
yeah, people would want to sit in the car in comfort and luxury to catch their Pokemon.
that is the most entrepreneurial thing I've heard in my life. Okay.
But the thing was, it didn't really work out.
Why not?
Well, people don't want to get in a stranger's car. It's like, what if I kidnap them?
Oh my God.
Yeah,
That is
so
genius.
it
I
was
can't
really
believe
funny.
it.
Yeah, because then it was like I had a like a piece of paper and just marker drawing like $10. Or I think it was less. It was $5. $5 to sit in the car to catch your Pokemon, and no one came in. Like until the end, I was about to leave, and a couple knocks on the window, and I roll it down, and it's like, are you really doing that? Because it's really hot out. And I was like, yeah, come in. And I was like super nice to them because I was like, finally a customer. So I was like, do you want water? I got water. You got, like, what do you want? And so they wanted a water, and then they did, like at the end of it, I ended up like breaking even because the water was $5.
That is genius. Did I tell you about the time that I went selling watermelon on the beach?
You vaguely told me, but you didn't
It
get
was
into detail.
something like that. It was like the weirdest entrepreneurial-ish thing that like let's make money in some way. Okay, we have watermelons and cutting them makes them be worth more, so let's
Yeah.
cut them up and like that's genius. Wow, I love these stories. When did you finish your service in the military?
Oh, when was that? 2018.
2018. So you were in college slash tech boot camps and stuff like for the past 6 years.
Let's see. So I graduated the coding boot camp 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I've been a software engineer for 5 years. Wow, yeah, it's longer than I wanted.
How come? What happened now that you were like, "That's it, I'm going full in"?
Ah, so the app, this was the first time that actually the people are coming. Like before, it was like I would try to tell people, my friends usually, to use my software, and maybe I'll get like 10 people, and it ends there. But for the first time, like I start off with my friends, of course, but it actually grew like from friends to friends of friends, and now I'm even getting strangers to come. So this is a sign this is working. And I checked the user count 2 weeks ago and 1 month ago. So in those 2 weeks, I had gained 50 new users, and that's new. That I've never grown that fast before. And I know this is just the beginning, and that was while I was still at my job. So I know if I take this seriously and I put in the work, this could actually go somewhere.
That's so interesting. Is there something that like a win moment where you were like, "Oh my God, this is amazing"? That probably if you were to ask someone who's like an outsider, he wouldn't really understand the excitement. But like a moment where you were like, "Oh my God, this is it."
Yeah, there are probably more than one. But let me think of it. Okay, I think it was the first time I hosted Squid Game. I had basically like 90% strangers show up, and it went exactly as I planned. Like the day itself, it went perfectly until the end. I ended up winning. It looked like it was like I fixed the game, but I I was just having fun, and I couldn't stop my competitiveness. But it was so much fun, and like everyone else had fun. We like people connected. They made friends. I made friends. So that's kind of like the whole intention of doing all this is just getting people together, not knowing each other, and then bonding, and then you actually make make something meaningful out of the 1 or 2 hours that we spend together. And yeah, I think that one event was kind of what really pushed me from thinking like this is a part time thing to being like I want this to be my this is like my life's work. I want more of this.
Amazing. Sounds super exciting. Like seeing if at first you're kind of used to just having your friends and then suddenly you don't know anyone, which could sound bad, but it's actually the best.
Yeah, and like the thing is, all the friends that we have today, they were all strangers at some point too.
So the night that we met the first time, me and you, it was one of your events, and it
Right,
was my first night in New York,
right.
which is funny. But how long have you been hosting the events? Like, when did it start?
Let's see. I started the app last year, July. It was it was the first event was volleyball. I still do volleyball, so that's been a consistent theme. Uh, I think, and then I started doing more like house type stuff after I moved into my current apartment. Now
Hmm.
it's in August. So I guess summer last year and sums it up.
When you introduce yourself, like when you meet new people, how do you define yourself?
Hmm. Let's see. I was at a friend's birthday yesterday. How did I introduce myself? Hi, I'm Robert. And I don't really introduce myself. I just say my name. Usually, if there's a mutual friend, then they'll bring up like, "Oh, Robert's doing this and that," and but if it's just me, I just say I'm Robert, and then whatever conversation follows follows.
Interesting. How do you feel about the word founder?
I feel like I don't say it out loud. Like I will put it in
I
my
get
bio,
that.
but I don't say it out loud. It just comes off as like pretentious.
I
Or
get that.
like trying to. I feel like people would be put off by it.
I agree. I mean, I think that there's a point where it's so undeniable, it just is. But then there's the process to feeling comfortable with saying it, sort of.
Yeah. Well, I do believe if you identify as someone, you're more likely to succeed to become that someone. So it's probably better to start saying that I am a founder, but I just haven't. I haven't been able to make myself do it. Well, I don't have a problem texting it. I just don't know why I can't say it in person. It just
What's one thing that you found out about entrepreneurship in general that surprised you? That you were like, huh, I didn't think it would be this way.
so many curveballs. Like this is my second time trying to do this, and I still I feel like I didn't learn from the first. Oh, I did learn, but the first time there were okay. We could get into specifics. So there was a guy that showed. So I ended up pivoting into crypto crowdfunding because at the time that was hot, and there was a guy at some conference. He promised introductions to crypto influencers, and he was planning this larger conference, and he wanted to invite me as a guest, and I would speak, and I'd make a lot of new networks, and so I flew to Vegas. It was expensive, and I didn't have that much money at the time, so that was like a huge budget cost. Um, and I showed up at the conference, and there were people that I already knew. It was like this. This was a huge. He overpromised and underdelivered, and
Hmm.
I was
What were
like,
you expecting and what happened?
well, I was expecting more than 50 people. It's like, like more people showed up at a local meetup than me flying to this conference.
Mm,
Yeah, and then
that's
I spoke.
challenging.
Yeah, I prepared this huge speech, but it was like so that was like a one thing I like remember because then I saw the red flags. I was like, this guy's making a lot of promises, but I have not seen any record of success. Like, so I was kind of on the fence when I agreed to go, and when I did show up, it just confirmed like I should have trusted my gut. Actually, and a weird thing happened there. There was this one of the other speakers. He was a what do you call it? A cult leader. Yeah, a genuine cult leader. Yeah. He was trying to use cryptocurrency to fund a base along a cliff overlooking the ocean, like a castle of his own, in his cult. It was weird, man. But what happened was during lunch break at some point he came up to me and he started talking to me, and I was fine with it. It was like I've never met a cult leader. Let's talk. So he starts
Did he
hitting on me.
identify that way, or is that how you saw him?
No, no, no. He straight up says like, I have a cult. That's how he introduced himself. Yeah, and he currently, well, at the time, he was living in some woodland area with his, I don't know what to call them. I guess tribe, and they would like grow their own food, and someone does the sowing, someone does the gathering of
Uh
food.
huh.
Yeah, it was like it was living. He was living in an alternate universe. In the modern
Okay.
era. Yeah, it was very strange. But anyways, he approached me during the lunch break, and he says, "You have really nice skin." And then I've never heard that, but thank you.
Okay.
And then, and my girlfriend of the time, she walks by, and he also starts hitting on her, and then he's hitting on the both of us, and I'm starting to think, oh shit, I remember a scene from it was like a movie about I think it was Jennifer Aniston and someone else, but they were like introduced into a cult, and it was like this kind of reminds me of that. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Oh my God. Okay, so it was nice going to Vegas.
Yeah,
So,
Vegas. Yeah, but
cool.
anyways, so I learned from that, and this time it's like I see the curveballs coming, but I trust my gut. Like if something seems
Hmm.
off, I will not continue, because then I could invest my time into something that's less suspicious.
Interesting. Like, there's a lot of uncertainty in this, let's call it genre.
Yeah.
Do you see a difference between the way you experience it right now and the way you used to experience it, like stress wise or stuff like that?
Oh yeah, very different. I used to get stressed more easily, like because there is a lot of uncertainty, and I at the time my coping mechanism would be work on the website if I don't know how to do the other thing. Like for example, marketing. I suck at marketing, so I knew that wasn't productive or like towards the right thing, but I would do it anyway just to feel like I'm moving forward. Now I recognize that as I'm escaping what I really need to do and to like actively shut it down. Like, for example, I know there's more software that needs to be written. I have a huge backlog, but I also understand if I don't continuously host events, I'm going to fall into that same pattern that I did 7 years ago, where I just built software and no one uses it. So I have to find that balance. Like even on days where I'm like super stressed about like a feature that is like half developed and is like just a little more and I could get it done and over with, I will be like, no, I have an event coming up. I need to prioritize that and put the software on pause. And it's just like having that discipline. I think that's very important. And then it's just like it's just being wiser with my time.
How does that present itself?
Let's see. Like there I have a lot of different event ideas that I want to do, but I know I need to focus on a niche. So what I've been doing was like I've been testing a lot of different theories, and now I found sports is the one that really works the most the best for me,
Hmm.
and it's also like what brings people in. So I need to focus more on sports events, and I have to cut everything else. So, like for example, I had that space rental feature that was an
Hmm.
experiment, and I removed it from that. So it's like making decisions like that. I had trouble with 7 years ago. I wanted to do it all. This time around, I'm being more focused because then I know it's like if I split my time between the space rental and the tournament and the sports tournament, they're both gonna be shitty. I have to focus on one.
Interesting. Why do you think sports attract? Why do you think sports attract more people?
I think it's specifically New York City. There's just not
Hmm.
that not that much organized sports events, and people are always busy with their. There's so much to do in the city, but rarely is it active, like physically active. Like you go drinking, you go eating, you go watch something. They're all very passive. So sports is a very unique thing. I feel like the city wants, but the city doesn't offer enough of. Like the
Okay.
people want it, but there's just not much opportunity.
People enjoy it, but they don't have a way to do it.
Yeah, and there are organizations that do it, but they're kind of expensive.
Yeah.
So
It's not something you would go and do every other day for sure.
yeah, and I feel like it could be free. Like all you're doing is bringing people together, use and you have a ball. It's like it shouldn't be 100 something dollars. It's like you show up to the park and maybe there's someone there, maybe there isn't, maybe there's someone you know, maybe it's a stranger, maybe they could be an asshole, you don't know. So it's just kind of unorganized. But you know the way I'm doing it is I'll make these events and usually like there'll be returning players, and because the like I've seen them, I met them, and I feel like they're reasonable people. They draw in more of the same, so then everyone is just friendly and we get along. Um, I want to say this is true for like all events, but it wasn't even an event. It was one time I was going to a water lantern festival, but it was in Jersey and the weather was kind of gloomy, and I decided I didn't want to cross the river. So then I was just on my way home and I saw a group of people playing volleyball, and I was like, well, I just gained extra time, so let me play some volleyball with these people. And they turned out to be really nasty. They were mean to their own teammates. Like they were just mean. Like I was uncomfortable. I was so uncomfortable. I was like stiff. I couldn't serve. I couldn't. I forgot how to play volleyball. I was just like out. It was
That's
just an awful experience.
terrible.
Yeah. So like I'm eliminating people like that, like through the app. It's like if they suck at being a person, they're not welcome. There was a
Okay.
guy that was kind of he was texting me every day. It was too much. I didn't know him at all, and he wanted to hang out
Okay.
like every day. And I was getting freaked out. So then I had to I banned him. I wrote a feature in the app to ban users, and now I have to think about how to put that on a more granular scale so that users can block other users if they ever encounter what I encountered. Yeah, but this is what I mean by curveballs. It was like this was not part of the plan. Like I thought I was just gonna. I want to build a tournament feature and then put it out there and business, right? No, it was like a 3 day detour. Like now I have to write a feature to ban someone.
Nothing is just business. Everything is like,
Yeah,
do you think your personal relationships were affected by working on the app now and the past?
yeah, yes, for sure. The app from 7 years ago, I was working on it with my girlfriend of the time, and that was that was very harmful for our relationship. If I could do that over, I would not have worked with my girlfriend. It was too hard. We were living together. We were on a tight budget. We were in a different city. We didn't have friends in LA. All we had was each other and this app, and that was so bad for both our mental health. Um,
You were living together in LA.
and after that, well, so we did that for two
How
years.
did it affect? Like what was it like?
Yeah, it was just. Oh, so before we could talk about how it affected, I want to start with how we were before the app. Like we've been dating for 2 years already. We had a lot of trust in each other. We were very happy and comfortable in who we were. And then after the app, so there's an additional 2 years. We'd been in a relationship for 4 years at that point. Uh, we just had less trust in each other. Had we we had less uh, like difference. Like we kind of like because we kind of like personalities like merged. Like we lost our individualism in like some of it. I think, and I think we became codependent on each other because we didn't have anyone else, because we were on a tight budget. And that kind of carried into when we came back to New York. Our relationship was just never the same again. And I attribute a lot of uh, the stressors that followed in New York from those 2 years in LA. It was just stuff that we hadn't addressed that would resurface and we didn't know how to address.
When you decided to shut down that app, was it before or after you guys stopped dating?
It was before. We were both relieved to shut it down. We were both like, I was like happy it was over. It was like stressful and it didn't go anywhere, and it really hurt our relationship. So yeah, it was a pretty painless shutting it down. I think we were both very over it at that point, and
Who
also
brought
like
it up?
I think I did, if I'm remembering right. Yeah, because then I think I was going through the finances one day and was like, "There's no way this is not gonna work." And then I suggested shutting down, and she said, "Yeah, yeah," like, she agrees. But yeah, it was kind of. I mean, it's now that we've talked about how excited I was when that drive home, and then to the end where it like I was happy to shut it down. It's a very sad experience.
It does sound very startup life, sort of. Like
Yeah,
everything starts very, very excited, then and then you learn. And I mean, I'm assuming you wouldn't give up that experience.
yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't give it up. Wish I could do some things differently. But yeah, it's
Would you tell 20-year-old Robert?
oh, learn how to code. What are you trying? Why are you starting a tech company without knowing tech? Yeah.
Well,
I, I,
I like no code, but whatever. Continue.
I think it was also I was trying to take on too much. Like I didn't know much, and I was trying to figure it all out. I think that was a
So, what
true.
would you tell yourself?
Ask for help. Look for partners. Even join a what do you accelerator. Like I was young. I didn't know anything. I needed to learn. I needed guidance. And actually, that applies to right now too. I like sure I've gained more experience. I have actual skill sets now, but there's still a lot I don't know. So I am open to the idea of looking for funding and even an accelerator if I'm not where I want to be in 6 months. I have, yeah, I have considered that. But for the first 6 months, I want to try to make it work on my own because I have enough finances to give myself that time. But yeah, I think I was ill prepared the first time around.
What were your goals from the first time, and what are your goals now?
Mm. The first time was more success driven. I was more like I was the trauma of the war that was driving the first time. Second time now it's less about success. Is that like at my job I was getting paid a lot. Like I'm by most standards I'm successful for my age, and I realize it's not all that. So this time around I don't think it's about success. It's more about freedom. It's about so like the reason why I am so invested in this particular startup concept is I thought about it like if I had all the money in the world, how would I want to spend my time? And I realized I want to play. I want to have friends over. I want to play volleyball. That's it. A very simple life. I just want to hang out. And so if that's my end goal, I might as well just do it now. And I'll flip it around. I'll live the life that I want, and from living the life that I want, I get paid for it. The ambition has changed.
So, before it was really, I have to prove myself, and now it's more, I'm good financially. Let's see what else there is out there, sort of.
Yeah, yeah. It comes more from a place of understanding who I am and what I want in life.
What did you understand?
I just want to have friends and have a good time. That's really it. It's like I don't care for fancy foods. I don't care for a lot like expensive clothes. Like that stuff's not important to me. So I don't actually need to be a billionaire to be happy. And like the other thing I noticed is like if you look at the people who are like top 1%, they don't look happy at all.
Yeah. I always think about that when I see anything with Elon Musk.
Right. So I feel like there's a sweet spot to the limit of what money can do for your life, and if you go too far, it can hurt you instead.
Interesting. What are the actionable steps that you take from that saying? Like, what are you or are you not looking for in this startup?
Yeah. Actionable steps. Well, I mean, I still have to make a living. That's
True.
important. Like, first you have to be able to take care of yourself, and then you can decide like where is my personal threshold, where is it taking it too far. Like if I'm blowing like $10,000 on a private jet, it's like that's taking it too far. Like I'm not a private jet like owning one, but like flying on one is just like that's unnecessary. So it's just like knowing where my limits are. It's different for everyone. Like for me, I would want to own a Tesla Roadster, the new one, at some point in my life, and I know that is not necessary, but I want one. Oh, I plan on if I do it, I have to do it comfortably. I that's like that's the one key thing. It was like if it stresses me out to buy that car, then I will not buy it. But if I'm able to buy it and it doesn't affect me so much that like I'm basically I'm well off enough to purchase it without a second thought, then it's okay. Um, but in terms of why it I want to do that, it's to fulfill the child in me. It's really not. It's not a necessary goal. It's just like when I was a kid, I wanted to have a nice race car, and as an adult, I want to make that kid proud.
That's great. That's it's a good of a reason as any other, even if not better.
Mm,
Like the even just the understanding that you want something that isn't logical, that is just something that you want is is cool.
yeah,
Okay. So I have another question. Who do you think should be a founder? Like what are the traits what are the traits of people who should become founders?
yeah. I almost want to eliminate the word "should" from the question.
Okay.
Yeah, because I feel like anyone could become a founder, and no one should be excluded. The question is who is more likely to succeed as a founder. That
Hmm.
is unfortunately for what I'm recognizing is people who take advantage of others and don't have a problem with it, and I fucking hate that, but that's what I'm
Huh.
observing. Yeah, because it's a very cutthroat world, and if you like, for example, in order to be successful as a founder you need employees, and in order to have good margins, you have to not pay them as much as yourself, or even remotely close to yourself or the company.
If your revenue as a company is $1 million and you take home, well, theoretically, you can also take home 100K and let two employees take home 200K, but whatever. Let's assume that you don't, that you are making more than them. Well, do you think that if you were more cutthroat, you'd be more successful?
I personally don't want to. Like, I could have less success and just be a fair person, and I'm okay with that. But I see like other entrepreneurs, like they will do shady things to get to where they need to go, and not all of them, but there's enough.
What would you tell people who want to be founders but don't want to be like that?
Yeah, I think you need to be able to take care of yourself and your business expenses well, so that you can be fair to your employees. And if you can't be, then don't hire. Like, don't stretch your budget thin and stress everyone out, and because it's not it's not healthy. It's not good for anyone. And it was like another example. Is a recent. Actually, I don't think I could talk too much about it because I signed an NDA. But basically, this person was hiring people from overseas and really underpaying them, and I was just like, that's not. I don't want to be involved in that.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Was that someone that you were considering working with?
I was until I learned more about how this person operates, and it's like that goes against my values. I don't want to like I don't want to be a part of it. And it's just there were a lot of other red flags, and when I saw all of it together, I was just like, no, this is trouble. This is going to eat up a lot of my time.
Goodbye.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. What are some of the things you like most about having your own thing?
I like a creative freedom. So like if I have an idea and I can give it a chance. I don't need to explain it to anyone. I don't need to get approval. I just go put it out there. And usually it takes me less time. Like I'll build the feature. It'll take like 2-3 days, and then I'll see if it sticks or not. Whereas if I had a team with write a proposal, that's one day, and then demo it is another day. Third day, maybe we disagree and or even agree, and then we start building it. Like by that time, I already finished the feature.
Interesting. And do you think if you're looking at it in a on a bigger time horizon, do you see yourself continuing in this path of being like a solopreneur or bringing a small team or even becoming a bigger company? Like, how do you see it?
I want to be a solopreneur. but I don't think it's going to happen. Because for me, I want freedom. I don't want like multi like I don't need 100 million. I just want to be able to live my life comfortably, like sustain my current way of life. And I think I could do that as a solopreneur. But if I end up having to build a team, I'm perfectly happy with that too. It just becomes less freedom. I think if I stayed at my job, well, I know if I stayed at my job, I would regret it. Whereas with this, I don't know whether it'll work out or it won't, but I know I won't regret it. So that's how I made my decision.
Amazing. And imagine your grandkids are watching this. What would you tell them about this? Let's say they're 20.
Yeah. I would say find people who are more supportive of you than people what's who doubt you, because everyone else will doubt you. So to counter that, to like find that balance, you need to have a group of people who believe in you, who will support even your craziest ideas, just because it's naturally other people will tell you it won't work. So, and as strong will as you are on your own, there will be some days that you will start to doubt. So you need those friends to remind you that you are doing the right thing, that you're capable enough to keep doing what you're doing.
Amazing. What do you think the role of environment is?
You have to put yourself out there, and then the people that you do get along with, they're going to introduce you to people that they know, and usually it's going to be a similar energy because they've already done that check themselves. And then you just kind of meet more like-minded people, one at a time.
What advice would you give your younger self?
Make time for other parts of life. I was working basically all the time. In my more recent year, I started a Kanban board. This is very project
Uh-huh.
managerial. I started a Kanban board for my life, and I
Okay.
broke it down into 8 different categories. It was a light research, but the study was something along life can be split up into 8 categories. Oh, financial was one of them. So it's just different categories where I would like put different things that I do in my life and make sure it's balanced. So, for example, volleyball is one thing I do consistently. That falls under physical wellness and social wellness. So, like, I could label that activity with like different colors, and if it starts looking too much one color, then it's like, okay, I'm off balance. But if it looks balanced, then I know it's like, okay, I'm splitting up my time well. I'm making sure all areas of life is covered. So I think that would be very helpful for anyone of any age, really. It was like, oh, actually, there was one point where my board was too green, and green for me is finance. So I was just like, all right,
Okay.
I'm thinking too much about money. I need to chill the fuck out. Like, I need to get some social in there. I need to get some physical exercise in there. So then, yeah, it's just a good way to check yourself.
That's cool. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Eddie, for having me. Had a great time talking to you.